Alright, so we are back with more unique superpowered individuals, and we're talking about Bailey Hoskins. And he first premiered in X-Men, The Worst X-Men, #1 in January of 2016. Now, Bailey was a regular kid, but in the world of Marvel Comics, his parents both had mutant abilities, and they didn't tell him that they were mutants until he got a little bit older because they thought, well, he would have a negative reaction to it. And also, they knew that mutants usually get their powers around from the age of puberty, and most likely he would become a mutant as well. And finally, his parents decide to tell him about who they are and what he may become. But to their surprise, Bailey was excited. He was hyped, just like any other kid who possibly wanted to have superpowers. And I just wanted to clarify that Bailey Hoskins is not from Earth 616, but a temporal designation of TRN 656. And again, he was very excited because he couldn't wait to see what type of powers he would eventually develop. And they went to the Xavier Institute where the parents talked and tried to enroll him. Now, upon further research and study, Beast was able to deduce his powers and abilities, which comes in the form of blowing up. Yes, he can self-detonate, but here's the thing about it. He cannot regenerate, he cannot heal, so it is a one-time technique of sorts. So yeah, Bailey Hoskins can only blow up, and it's a one-time thing. Now, from Bailey's point of view, it seemed like, well, he didn't have any power, and if he did have a power, it wasn't unique and it wasn't awesome at all. But still, yet the X-Men recruited him on the team, and he was on several other teams. And for the most part, in his introduction, he was using this suit since he couldn't really use his powers. And while Bailey tried to do the best he could in order to help, he wasn't much of a help. And it wasn't because he didn't have powers and abilities, but it was his social awkwardness. He would make jokes, he would go on X Factor and talk about Havoc and say, "You're the worst Summers brother," and go on a whole bunch of other teams and not really do anything for the team except make sidelines and jokes and things of that nature that really didn't help out. Now, while Bailey was doing his thing, he did attract the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and it was because of his powers and abilities. Now, while you might think, well, his powers aren't very useful, it can be used in order to detonate an assassination attempt. Think about it like, hey, Bailey, I want you to blow up by Professor Charles Xavier in the Xavier Institute. Yeah, so he can be useful if need be. Now, these things didn't come to fruition, but towards the end, in X-Men, The Worst X-Men, #5 in February of 2016, where he goes against someone who's in terms of just assets and things of that nature, and that person tells him that you are not unique, you have nothing. And Bailey finally saves the day and says, "I do have one thing," and explodes. And this is the end of Bailey. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, geez, like, what kind of superpower is that? And I wouldn't want to have that superpower. Now, here's the thing, I wouldn't want to have it either. But for instances where it's the last ditch effort, I can see this character being someone who literally will save the day. Now, again, we haven't seen this character at all since his introduction and ending, but with the Krakoa days, we never know if Bailey was resurrected. And if he does come back, will he make a grandiose return and end by saving the day one more time? Now, while it is unconfirmed, a lot of folks, including myself, are theorizing that since Bailey Hoskins was not part of the main 616, that we did get a version of him in Empire X-Men #4 in August of 2020, and he has the ability to explode things. Now, he was a mutant who was resurrected by the Five, so a lot of folks are theorizing that this could be our Bailey Hoskins because his name was never unveiled. So this could be our Bailey Hoskins, but again, we're not too sure. But if you want me to cover Explodey Boy, let me know because his story is pretty interesting. So yeah, that's Bailey Hoskins. So let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this character? Would you want to have his powers? And what other characters would you want to see me cover next? Later, everyone.